might have seen the title name, and that is because this coming Monday is Queen's Club tournament, where they play from Monday to Sunday at Queen's Club in London. However, the Monday to Friday coverage is where the big issue at, and that's what I'm talking about. Monday, they start at 12 noon and put it on the web button for an hour. Who on earth thought that was a good idea? But at least it was a good idea to put it on BBC One from 1 till 6. But whoever thought it was a good idea to have from 6 o'clock to the end of play at 7:45 on the web button has got a screw loose. Because all the viewers want is to watch from start of play to end of play on network television. And instead, they're going to have to watch 3 hours behind a web button or on iPlayer. And whoever thought about that needs to be named and shamed and publicly humiliated at Queen's Club tournament, because that is totally unacceptable to have a schedule like that for viewers watching on television, especially the older generation. And I'll get to why in just a moment. The schedule for Monday, obviously, BBC News, they don't really need to be on the air on BBC Two, because I think it's unnecessary from my point of view. Politics Live at 12:15, obviously they're trying to get as much information as they can with a UK general election. That should be on BBC One, because that's where the most important bits are on, personally. And if they started the programme at 11:45 or 12, then we can get Queen's Club on there, in my personal point of view. But if they started at 11:45 or 12 the programme, then they'd be okay. But look at the evening programme. Richard Osman's House of Games at 6, that's a repeat. Robson Green's Weekend Escapes at 6:30, that's a repeat. Garden Made Perfect at 7, which is now a repeat. And most of the programmes seem to be repeated. Old programmes that have been on the air, whoever thought it was a good idea, basically needs to sack, because that is not a way of how to do programming. The way how to do your television programmes is to go on air right to the end of play. That is a shit job, BBC. You shouldn't be airing repeats when you've got a live tennis tournament on. And basically, they don't have the balls to air live tennis. The Tuesday schedule for Queen's looks similar to Monday in terms of like 9 AM to 1 o'clock. And I'm going to say the same as I said about the Monday schedule. BBC News programming at 9 shouldn't be on the air on BBC Two. Politics Live should be on BBC One, especially when there's a general election coming up. Queen's Club should be on air at 11:45 or 12 instead of 1 o'clock. 6 till 7 repeats, they shouldn't be on the air. The One Show shouldn't be on the air, because BBC One has got football with the European Championships. EastEnders, they should push it back half an hour so that they could get more viewership, but they shouldn't really air it when, in my view, I think they should have probably done a 1 hour episode where they could potentially get a lot more viewers against on the Monday against ITV, who would have had the rights to one of the other football matches that night. And I think, in my perspective, they could have aired it at 8 on BBC Two on the Tuesday, or aired it as a 1 hour telecast on the Monday, and then they wouldn't have had problems. So unfortunately, the way the BBC have done their planning has been crap from pretty much the start. Because obviously they've got to fit in both the European Championships and this tennis tournament, and unfortunately they're not doing their job properly. And the only reason why the BBC are doing their schedule is because they care about themselves, not about the viewers. And they still don't have the balls to go from start of play to end of play. Most of Wednesday's schedule looks similar to pretty much the same to Tuesday. And obviously BBC News shouldn't be on the air on BBC Two at all. Politics Live should be on BBC One. Tennis at Queen's should have started at 11:45 or 12 in my view. 6 till 7 obviously repeats. They shouldn't be on the air. And the one show, they shouldn't air it when there's both a European Championship and a tennis tournament. And the EastEnders, well, they should basically wait till later in the week so that they could get more viewers. And unfortunately, in my view, they shouldn't be airing it when it's on BBC Two, because in my view, they're killing their viewers. And unfortunately, the BBC have got a lack of balls when it comes to broadcasting sports. I know it's a difficult position because they've got the European Championships and Queens, but unfortunately, justify the decision to broadcast repeats and other programmes on BBC Two. They should always find a way round the schedule, and unfortunately, they don't have the balls and they don't have the brains that they have with our licence fees. Like Tuesday and Wednesday, Thursday schedule is very much the same. BBC News shouldn't be on air on BBC Two. Politics Live should be on BBC One. Tennis at Queen's should be from 11:45 or 12 right to the end of play at 8 o'clock. Wichita Osman's House of Games and Robson Green's Weekend Escape shouldn't be on air because they're repeats and it's boring to watch a repeat show when they've already been on air and you can catch up on iPlayer. The one show that shouldn't be on air, especially when there's football matches going on, and EastEnders shouldn't be on air on BBC Two. It should be on air on BBC One, although BBC One have got the football. So whoever thought about the schedule needs a very good thing about what to do when the next major tournament comes up, which is the 2026 FIFA World Cup in Canada, America and Mexico. And whoever thought this was a good idea for a schedule needs to be sacked. ASAP. Friday schedule in the morning up until 1 o'clock looks the same and the same opinion. BBC News shouldn't be on air on BBC Two. Politics Live should be on BBC One with the general election coming up. Tennis at Queen's should have started 11:45 or 12 to get the start of play seen. But Richard Osman's House of Games, Robson Green's Weekend Escapes, Digging for Britain and Beach Green Gardens shouldn't be on air because 1, they're repeats, 2, no one wants to watch them, and 3, in order to get viewers, put the fucking tennis on. No one wants to watch repeats. And no wonder why BBC are losing viewers, because the scheduling is crap. Right from the start of day to the end of the day. It's because they don't have brains, they don't have the balls, and they certainly don't have the knowledge on how to plan their programming out. And unfortunately, if I was in charge, I would tell them to either do it my way or tell them to get out, because they're not doing their schedule properly. And if I was in charge of the scheduling for all their sports, I'll tell them to go and fuck off, because they're not doing their scheduling properly. And that's the way I'm going to say what I want to say. And that is, throughout the Monday to Friday, which we've seen, the BBC hasn't got any balls, they don't know how to schedule properly, they chose to air repeats because they're cutting corners, and they're fucking useless. It shows how bad their scheduling are. And unfortunately, the BBC doesn't have any balls to go with what the viewers want. Most of the weekday morning schedule on BBC One, obviously from 6 AM to 10:45 new programming. Sometimes we may get a repeat or two. This one I found had repeats on both. Politics Live should be on BBC One, especially when a general election is on, and if not, then they should probably put some of the tennis on if they had to. But in the afternoons, obviously it's disrupted by Euro 2024 because of the fact that there is live coverage of football matches, especially when England and Scotland are playing, where there's a lot of build-up, and then in the evening, more football when it comes along. Unfortunately, we can't help any of that, but when there's no football, then the BBC don't have any balls to basically plan their schedules out, which they don't have the balls, they don't have the brains, and they're just doing things on the cheap where they don't have any brains to do their job, which lacks a lot of motivation. And if they had the balls, then they would have done it by now. But unfortunately, they're just so fucking useless. There are points as to why the BBC are elected not to put Queen's Club tournament on BBC One or BBC Two during the weekdays from start of play at 12 to the end of play at 7:45. The first one is the European Championships this year. Euro 2024. Obviously England and Scotland are in it for the home nations, which means they'll get a lot more television time, which everyone will understand. So we've got two different tournaments on at the same time. The second reason is the BBC are lazy at prioritising repeats of shows that have been aired and other programmes being aired that should not be aired on either BBC One or BBC Two while this tournament is being played. So repeat programmes and other programmes like Bargain Hunt, Homes Over the Hammer, House of Games and a few other programmes, they shouldn't be aired when you've got a major tournament. You've got to think about what the viewers want. And unfortunately, they're not thinking about what the viewers want. They're thinking about themselves and their money paid for us by us, the television licence holders. And that comes to my third point. The BBC are lazy, they're cheap, and want to cut corners at every cost, as they are useless at Queen's Club on network television, especially on weekdays. They are lazy, they are wanting to make it cheap, and they want to cut corners. That's why 5 hours a day isn't enough. We want a full day of play from 12 till the end of play. And if they don't like it, we won't be watching. And they're wanting to put it on a web button to get the older generation, and on iPlayer to get the tech generation. Obviously I'm a tech person, so I know my tech. Goes down our smartphones and use smart television all the time. Older generation don't tend to use the tech because they may not have the technology and may not know how to use a smart television. The BBC does not care about the older generation and cares only about the tech generation instead of the older generation. So they only care about the tech generation, unfortunately. What could happen to the BBC with the Queen's Club tournament? Could the BBC lose their rights because of the way they're putting their schedules in? Yes. Because it's inconsistent of putting a full day's schedule together with repeats, political programmes, news programmes, and programmes that viewers don't want to watch. Some of them, like repeats, they've already been aired and no one wants to watch it. They can get it on iPlayer later, but it's just shit, in my view. And I think the BBC do deserve to lose their rights to Queen's Club Tournament because of the way they're doing their schedule. And because of that, I think they should be defunded because their choice to air repeats instead of live coverage of Queen's Club Tournament. They should prioritise the live coverage of a tennis tournament instead of airing fucking repeats. It is absolutely despicable of a broadcaster like the BBC to air a repeats of older shows instead of airing what the viewers want to see, which is live tennis. If not now, when will they put all of their coverage from start to finish of a full day's play on network television? That's the three main points. Thank you for watching. I'm Gav Thomas. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.